Tolino Epos 2 and the Kobo Forma are the exact same device, and I don't say that loosely. They actually are the exact same device. Tolino and Deutsche Telekom was purchased by Kobo Rakuten, meaning that they just took all the Forma shells and they used them for the Tolino. And I'm actually not joking. It is the same bezel, it's the same glass screen, it's the same rubber around the side, it's the same buttons, it's even the same laser logo color on the front where they have Tolino and Kobo respectively. Everything is the exact same thing except for the actual insides. The UI, the overall operating system is different, and we're going to take a look at that right now. They both show their menus in different ways. You have a little top left corner drop down with a bunch of different things here, and you have the top left button as well, but it takes you into a different menu on the Tolino. We'll go to settings on both of these to check these out. So you'll see just various amount of settings on both of these. You have advanced settings and you have beta features respectively, so you do have a bunch of different stuff. You have some stuff like sketchpad, large print mode, which is effectively the same as magnification mode, some games, and a couple pages of things on the Tolino. Tolino view, last book read, reset to default, demo mode, etc. So there's a fair amount of features on both of these guys. Now, I should note they weren't actually designed on the inside, that is, the UI and the operating system. They weren't designed by the same team. They are separate in that regard, which is why they look drastically different. You'll notice their bookshelves are quite different as well. You have some stuff at the bottom here, quick tips, things you've actually recently read, something from the shop, and stuff that you've recently added in on the device here, as well as Thalia bookstore at the bottom. You do get a couple choices of bookstores on the Tolino, but on the Kobo you're stuck with just Kobo, which isn't bad. They have a ton of books. They both have a lot of options to change the text and the margins, line spacing, etc. Although it is a little bit more customizable on the Kobo because they have the slider bars, and that's always very nice instead of just having 3 choices like on the Tolino. None of them have the exact same font as each other, so we were unable to really match them. So the reading experiences just kind of have to be their own like this. Page turns are fast on both. You can press the physical page turn buttons and you can press and hold them as well. The Tolino swipes through the book. The Kobo doesn't really do anything. It just goes one page at a time. If you press and hold the Kobo, doesn't do what the Tolino does. So that's kind of really nice of the Tolino to do that. You can long press, you get translate, look up, write note, highlight, and the same on this. In terms of the quality, it's not really fair to compare because they are the exact same screen. They're just running different UI if you're just joining us now, because I've said that a couple times. So there is no difference in quality. It's the same white, it's the same black, it's pretty much the same thing. In terms of quality, they're good. In terms of functionality, they're not very good at all. When it comes to PDFs, you don't want either of these two units to read on. The Tolino is painfully slow and unresponsive when it comes to pinch and zooming. There's no mini-map, there's basically nothing, and actually this pops up a lot. Your Tolino is busy. Now we haven't seen this since the Kindle Paperwhite 2, and I'm not joking. PDFs have become pretty stable and pretty usable on most any device. The Kobo has a mini-map, but it's not any better. It's very slow, it's very choppy, and it doesn't always render on its own all the time. You see, it did there, but it didn't before. The Tolino's just not a good take when it comes to PDFs. These are the exact same PDFs. They're 27 MB each. They should be performing the exact same, but unfortunately they're not. When it comes to page turns, you can press the physical buttons on the screen. Next to the screen, I should say. You can tap the screen or swipe, but you can see I did 3 actions on either one so far, and this one skipped 2 pages, this one did 1. So they're not exactly showing us that these are PDF machines. They're basically to be avoided at all costs if you want to run PDFs. And I'm not being critical, I'm being realistic. If you're trying to if you're in class and you're pulling up your textbooks and stuff on here, it's not going to be comfortable. Neither of them can isolate text either. So if you press and hold on text, it's not going to do it. It's just going to think you're turning pages. It doesn't end there. There's virtually no options at all. There's some reflow and some table of content cues, and you can rotate and maybe zoom the page around, but that is where it ends. These really aren't used for PDFs, although they have the screen real estate for it. You can see how big they are by my hands here, or even a flagship smartphone. So it is quite a shame that they don't perform any better than they do, because these would be quite nice for PDFs. The Tolino is also lacking very vital settings. For example, the Kobo has header, footer, show progress bar, inverted page forward and back buttons, and a bunch of on-screen controls, as well as refresh the screen every, reading orientation, Adobe, etc. There's a whole bunch of settings here. This just has screen refresh and left-handed mode. That is it. So if you're looking at customizable options for reading settings, the Tolino doesn't have a whole lot. So these are both on max brightness, you can see here, but the Tolino has extended brightness, so you can toggle that on, and it says you can increase the brightness past the normal level. I don't know why they didn't just make it part of the normal level, because it's very dark compared to the Kobo on the left here. Now you both do have color temperature, and the advantage of the Tolino is that as you slide it changes, which is very nice. You can get a good idea of where you're going to leave off. The Kobo doesn't do that. You can see you can swipe it left and right all day long, or even wait, and it doesn't change until you take your finger off. So that's a little bit of a downside, but they both display colors very well, and they both allow you to blend the two together, not toggle them on or off. So you can get a good white balance that way. Yes, they're both well-built devices, but when it comes down to it, North Americans are going to be a lot more comfortable with Kobo. Tolino is mostly for the European crowd. It's lacking bookstore compatibility for North American markets. It has a lot less settings than the Kobo. It's missing a lot of beta features too, like games, Sketchpad, etc. It's also pretty bad on PDFs, and it's not exactly accessible from a lot of places. In fact, we even have trouble dealing with Tolino as Good e-Reader, and we're paired up with pretty much everyone in the industry. So if you had to choose between the Rakuten Kobo and the Tolino, we would push the Rakuten Kobo. Not only is it more internationally available, but it's just a lot more usable realistically day to day. If you guys have any other questions, comments, or concerns on this face-off, let us know. And for goodereader.com, this is Peter.